good evening, and welcome to Keeping It Real TV Network, keeping it real in all aspects of life and giving back in more ways than one. This evening, we have an amazing topic for you. It is entitled The Good, Bad, and Simple of Homeschooling with an amazing guest. Her name is Sandy Esprit, sorry. I'm so happy that you're here. There's so much information I feel that you can give to us and inspire others as well. So welcome. Thank you for joining us this evening. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. I am really, really excited to be here. I started homeschooling like 5 years ago, and first of all, I didn't think we were going to keep homeschooling past the pandemic, and then now here I am, and so I'm excited, and I'm so happy to be here to share my thoughts and journey and tips and tricks and all that stuff. Sorry, you said talk about yourself. I'm so sorry. Um,
No, you're good. You're good. You're just super excited about
so
it. I love that. I absolutely love the passion. It's real. It's real. I love it.
So yeah, because it comes from like a real place, and I feel that that's what's allowed me to continue to homeschool is that there's intentionality behind it. We started during the pandemic, and this was when the schools were closed. At the time, my eldest was 3, and they were like we were hearing in the media, and parents were saying like, "Oh, it's going to be closed," and the kids are having a hard time staying still. And at this point, my then 3 was going to turn 4. We knew that the upcoming school year, I looked at her and I was like, she's not going to sit still. And I can foresee problems. And of course, it's being a planner that I am, because that's what I do. I looked at my husband and I was like, you know what? I think we should start homeschooling her because, well, she already knows how to read, and there's no way this kid's gonna sit still. Like, let's try it out. And he was like, yeah, sure, let's try it out and see. First year went great. And then the next baby showed up, and she somehow, I don't know how she learned how to read, to be honest. She just picked it up, watching her sister and doing and just following along. So I'm like, well, she's already reading, so might as well just get her in there as well. And by the time the third one showed up, we had a rhythm going. It just made sense at this point.
Okay. Yeah. No, I totally get that. That's amazing. I love that. So one thing about you is you're a content creator, which means your life is really busy. It means your life is
Yeah,
really busy.
well,
How do you do it? Like, how do you manage? Like, how do you structure your days, your weeks, your months? Like, how do you do it? You're super
my
mom.
man.
Great.
You know what though? It doesn't feel like it half the time. I'm just like I always tell people I'm surviving on coffee and a whole lot of Jesus because it feels like that a lot of the time. Um, and I think most moms can agree. Like I don't know one mom who's had a single good night's sleep since they had a child.
Yeah.
So we're all in the same boat in that sense. But I would say very early on, time management was key. I've always been I love structure. I love schedules. Everything needs to have its place, right? Like we wake up in the morning, we have our breakfast, we'll play a little, and then it's time to work. And then they have their time, I have my time because mommy's got to work. And everything has its time and place. The beauty with homeschooling is though if something gets changed, it's not the end of the world. We just flow right back in. So that's helpful in that sense.
And that's definitely a benefit, 100%, because things change, fluctuate, and I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, you could probably do homeschooling anywhere. So if you decided like to travel, maybe as a family, or even if you have like a family emergency, right? You could do that on the go,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. And like that's my social media profile. Like my homeschooling account is called Homeschool on the Go because there were times when I had to travel. So we go to Toronto, it's 4 hours away. We put the kids in the car, bring your books, bring a pencil, and or let's have a what's it called? Like a sightseeing trip. How many things can you check on the road while we're driving down? Because learning is all the time, right? We're not strict or bound by a pencil and a book and a pencil.
I love that.
Downstairs. You got to go downstairs. We got a visitor here. I had to
That's
let you
okay.
know.
Okay. Don't mind it at all. Hello.
Yeah.
So then how do you approach creating and personalizing the curriculum for your children? Like how do you do that?
Well, the first thing before starting to homeschool, the first thing I did was research the different curriculums because there's not as much as, yes, in Ontario, we are like, I'm grateful I can homeschool. I don't have to deal with an overhead. I don't have like I'm the administration, right? I can I love me. My personal approach is to go based on the Ontario curriculum and then tweak as we go along. But there is a lot of freedom. There's a lot of lax to it, and so I researched, and really, child psychology was a thing for me. I understand that every child is different. The way I learn is not the way my kids learn, right? And
Right.
so, that's a big thing. I think um the number one thing is really assessing the child, like just really getting to know who child. Okay, that's a lot of information. You can stay here quietly though, okay? Okay, thank you. Uh, so, do you want to say hello?
Hi.
Yeah, okay, you're shy now.
How are you?
You want to say hello and how are you? No, you just want the phone and you want to go. Okay, go. Cool. It was nice knowing you. Um, they get what they need and they just dip.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, like really knowing and understanding who my kid is number one, really, really important because I want learning to be enjoyable for me. Like I don't want to teach them the old school way. I want to know what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what do they like, what do they not like, how can I turn it into something that they do like. All of these things come into play, and it's a constant, like I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly finding ways, I'm constantly having to be like really resourceful so that they can retain the information that they are getting because they are going to need it when they are older. That's building blocks for their future, so I'm very intentional about that. And then the curriculum stays the same. I mean, especially when they're younger, I need my kids to learn how to read. I need them to know how to write. Like that's not going to change. There are certain things I'm just like,
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
not a negotiation. There's no negotiables as it pertains to that. So when it comes to learning how to read, learning how to write, learning how to add and knowing their numbers, those basics, um, that's when we got to be creative. My eldest loves colors. She loved colors. So we are going to learn how to write with crayons today, right? Like something like simple like that. And they're just like, oh, I get to pick the crayon I get to write with. Yes, you do. And the A looks a little wonky and the B is completely disconnected and disjointed. But there is an interest now where, okay, I want to do my best and draw those things, right? Or like my youngest loves food, so or and snacks. So if you want to count and she doesn't want to get cheated, she's learning that she got three, I better have three. You gave me two, you need to give me one more. Simple math right there,
Love it.
right?
I love that. It's actually fun too.
Yeah.
That's so
It
fun.
is. It's fun for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. I get that. Do you incorporate like technology though too? Like, do you use YouTube or is it like uh, books that you use, or is it strictly technology? Like, how do you do it? Because I think every parent can probably pick how they want to do it. Am I wrong on that?
Absolutely. Every like I'm there are so many, first of all, there's like so many different um homeschooling styles.
Okay.
Like you have the Montessori, which is now it's like a huge billion-dollar industry now, but it's really
Mm.
like this child-led, child-focused, lean into what the child likes. And then you have your traditional, which is pencil, paper.
Oh,
And then right now people are leaning a lot of like it's a lot of tech, a lot of sitting down on a laptop and typing and tablet. So I have a degree in biochemistry, and that involves a lot of researching. So my whole focus is lean into what you want, what you like, leaning like into the child. You still don't learn how to use a pen and paper, but let's learn how to research as well. Like let's find, you have questions, I have questions. Let's figure this out together. So we'll use technology so that one, my kids can understand how to deal with the world around them. And we are a tech-based society now. It's only going to get more and more advanced. So having that understanding of technology, having media literacy is a big thing. That's something I am incorporating more and more now, because there's a lot of stuff, a lot of like toxic stuff online. And I feel like as a homeschooler, it's my duty to not only teach them the skills to read and write, but to understand that, hey, some things are safe and some things are unsafe. And I think like as adults, that's a thing like we're all catching up on, is like, this is safe media, or this is safe technology, and this is unsafe technology. And it doesn't need to be like its own separate course, right? Like it can just be all part of the curriculum, if that makes sense.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, sorry,
It's
no.
okay.
Sorry about that.
No, don't worry.
Now everybody wants to come, right? Like after nobody
Well, that's fine. The
everybody
most
forgot about me. Mommy's busy. Yeah, everybody wants to find mommy.
It's like when the mom gets on the phone, right? Like nobody wants you when you're not on the phone. The minute you get on the phone, it's like everybody wants you. It's like, how did this happen? How did we get here? Just one moment, please, you know?
Yeah.
But just a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Do you personally plan on incorporating um, cursive writing into your
Yes.
because I know in the traditional school system they have taken that out, and I
Yes.
personally think it's like so important, but I just, you personally, I wasn't sure like if that's something you find important, something that you plan on doing yourself.
You know what's interesting is that, like, so again, just to show you the flexibility of homeschooling. So I had heard that in the traditional system, they were not doing that. My daughter goes to Sunday school, comes back home. She's like, my friend is learning how to write in cursive. I want to write in cursive. I'm like,
Oh,
oh, okay. And that was that. We bought the book. She's now writing in cursive. Like,
amazing. I love that. That is so
yeah,
good. That's good. That's great. I love it because I think that is very, very important for them to know. My daughter is a
yeah.
teenager, as you know, and some of her friends don't know it and they don't read it either. So yeah, so I'm happy to hear that. So when it comes to like how do you socialize your children and ensure that they have opportunities with interacting with other peers other than just at home? What do you do for that?
So what we do is we've done the extracurricular, putting them in sports. We also interact at our local church community. So they are definitely in an environment where there's like lots of different people. We also, and here's the thing, that with children, if you just give them the platform, they will socialize. Adult, child, teen, elderly, they don't care. They will socialize. And I've noticed that with my children, that no matter the environment, like I had my eldest actually check me one time because I was just like, yeah, she I felt like she was doing too much. Me personally, I was just like, you're and she said, she looked at me, she was like, you're not letting me make friends. And I was just like, oh, am I being a helicopter parent? Like, am I something there social? Right? Like, just like, oh. And I've noticed that, like,
Right.
it's, but she's confident. Like, the girl can walk in a room and she'll just, she's not afraid.
That's awesome.
Right? Meanwhile, like I remember me, like I went to school, I went to the public school systems, and I wasn't like shy, but I was definitely a little more reserved. I wasn't going to speak to an adult and ask them questions. Like I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Well, that's that's so funny though. Am I
They
the
are.
helicopter parent? That's funny.
Yeah,
I actually like that.
you're keeping me from just like,
Kids are precious though. They're so precious. They're absolutely precious. So For social and emotional development, do you feel that homeschooling provides more opportunities for emotional and psychological growth than the traditional schooling system?
I think with the way now I can't speak for like every province. I can only speak for what I know. I think that personally, by allowing them the bandwidth to
Mm,
emotionally and psychologically grow at their own rate, and not just based on like, oh, I know best. I'm talking like based on research, like me actually going in and doing the research and reading the literature, and I have allowed my kids a safe way to be emotional, and not only be emotional, but to learn how to emotionally regulate themselves so
mhm,
that when they are in public, they know how to deal with disappointment, how to deal
mm,
with, anger, how to deal with joy, right?
yeah,
Because Right, because like if we're keeping it real, like the schools, from what I've heard, a lot of kids struggle in that aspect where you have one teacher, 30 children, they should be getting a helper, but there are budget cuts. So now we have kids who are needing IEPs, not getting IEPs. You have kids who are now being told, well, we're not going to suspend you because that's not good for you psychologically, but we don't know what to do with you, so we're just going to sit you in the corner. We're going to put you in and it's like, but we're not teaching, nobody's being taught the tools, and no, fault of the teachers. They have 30 other kids to take care of.
it's packed. The classes are packed, like beyond capacity.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's
Right.
yeah,
And I'm
no.
just thinking, like, me with three, I feel sometimes like, okay, I'm losing it. I can only imagine 20 to 30 little people
Yeah,
who are being bothered, and also not knowing what they're being taught at home, which comes into play in the classrooms. It's I you know, I know everybody's doing the best that they can, and it takes a
yes.
village. But I look at my daughter sometimes and I see some of their peers, like, even at church, and I'm like, whoa. That's, like, my kid comes up to me one time and she was like, yeah, I don't know why she was acting like that. Like, she could have just taken a deep breath and calmed down. I'm like, you're right.
Oh,
But
I love it. Absolutely love it. So, in regards to learning approach, what would you say is the simple in learning and how does it work in everyone's favor?
I lean so heavily into my YouTube channels. It's not even
Yeah.
funny. I'm a lazy. I do things lazily. So I love me a good, and lazy after planning, of course, but
Yeah.
right, like, I need to find songs I can tolerate. I need to find the channels with a good message, but that's also going to teach my kids about phonics, how to count. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah. No,
So
that's
yeah, well, it's there. I'm like,
yeah.
we pay the internet bill, so might as well put it to good use.
Might as well. Why not? And they do have good stuff on there. They do
Oh yeah.
have really good things on there. Um, how do you track your children's like documents and their progress? How does that work?
So what I do is, I watch a lot of the stuff, and I do like mini reviews and assessments. Now I
Mhm.
don't do it too early on, in terms of like, here's a test. When they're younger, it's more so, right now my 3-year-old's learning how to read. So we'll go and we'll take a book, and I will read the words that I know she doesn't know, but the words that she does know, I will point to. And if she remembers it, I know, okay, and she remembers it consistently, of course. And so I'm just like, okay, you're learning, you're picking up the books, you're picking up, you're picking up the words, you're understanding the letters. If I see her make sounds with the letters, I'm like, okay, phonetically, we're starting to get there. So like, that's how I do it. Very like nonchalant. I'm watching, but I'm not really watching, and we're making it fun.
Making
Um,
fun. That's awesome.
right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just want to insert here, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask now as we go along, because we're going to be wrapping it up in just a little bit. But this is a lot of great information. But just touching on what you had just described and how you do it, is that something like how does it go further than that? Like what's beyond that? Like, do you have to like document that and like send it into a place? Just like how does that work?
So in Ontario, then that it's going back to that. So in Ontario, the great thing is if you're homeschooling, it's your business. What you do is your business.
Okay.
Yeah, like it's free. Like they're just like, just as a parent, if you're gonna homeschool, just make sure you do your due diligence, especially once you get into the high school years. As soon as you get into the high school phase, then you want to make sure that you get the proper credits, you get the proper
Mhm.
accreditations, get those 40 hours, like those, you want to get that in so that they can get their diploma. And it's best also to talk to a teacher who is, or an educator who's been in the system, or, who is involved in that. The Ontario Carleton School Board has an incredible, like, which I thought was genius, but they have a homeschool department where parents can
Really?
actually, yeah, and parents can actually
Wow.
get in contact with that person, and you can go back and forth, and they'll provide you resources and just let you know when there's any major changes to the curriculum, if you're missing something or you just want to know. So at least I know that for the Ottawa
Wow.
Carleton, like the OCDSB, I don't know what the other school boards do,
But they
but yeah, it's
or it's just reaching out and asking. So that's a good point then for parents just to reach out and ask, like, do you guys
yes,
have a section? Because I didn't realize that they had it like that. That's amazing. That's really, really
yeah.
good. To take it a step further, for parents that are looking and don't know where to start, you have some awesome news.
Yes. So I've created my first ebook, and it's a how-to guide for anybody who wants to learn how to get started. If you are anywhere in Canada, I do also have the links in there that you can go to your provincial section for education. And I wrote it, it's available, and it's $9.99. Tons of information there. I also share my tips, my tricks. I share different styles of homeschooling, what I use to homeschool my girls, the channels I use to homeschool my girls to help and supplement the education at home. And this is great also, not just for those who are homeschooling, but those who are really wanting to get a hands-on approach to their child's education. Sometimes you just need that extra hands-on at home education to supplement what's being taught at school, because sometimes things get missed, right? Like we just discussed, like one teacher, 30 kids, that's a lot, right? So, and we don't want our children to just get a piece of paper and be like, okay, great, off you go. No, we're raising like future leaders, we're raising future doctors, future business people, future photographers. Like we don't know the potential our children have. It's best to just be all hands on deck. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about this ebook, and I know it's going to help so many people.
So congratulations on that. I think you just came out with it
Thank you.
ago. I saw you launch it and I was like, yay! Because like I love that again, some parents don't know where to start. And there's a few things that we chatted about even right now where I was like, oh, I didn't even realize or know. So for like literally under $10, you can have the links and everything right there at your fingertips. And the best part about an ebook is you can always go back. I mean, a physical book you can too, but you can lose a physical book. So an ebook is just
Yeah.
always there. Go back, you have the links. And so that's so exciting. I'm so happy for you. Also, her handle is mentioned here. Sandy's handle is mentioned here as well for homeschooling. So please go and follow her. Another thing, too, in our bio and our link in our bio, as we always do, we post our guests for about 2 weeks. So her link, her website has been posted there for about a week already. So we'll leave it there for about another week. You can also go on there. There's a lot of other amazing things listed on there as well. You can see and get to know Sandy a little bit more behind the scenes. But homeschooling is just one of the things that she she does, but definitely check her out, go follow, and get the book. Just as simple. Get the book, literally. So, with that being said, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Sandy. I really appreciate it. And to anybody who has questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. We can always come back. Oh, we have a question.
Yes. So it says, do you plan on homeschooling all throughout high school for your kids? See, at this point, we're honestly weighing it year by year. The idea at first was to stop for eighth grade, just because of my experience with homeschool, especially like back then, there wasn't as much information. I think a lot of this is new. Now that homeschooling has completely, like, they've really revamped the resources now. There are so many resources now. So we're gonna wait and see if it's something that benefits the child, like our children, we'll do it. If it doesn't, we'll just keep them at home, because it's getting, some of the stuff I'm hearing, it's getting scary.
The world is changing.
Yeah.
It is changing. So, and like Sandy said, our children are our next generation, and but homeschooling is definitely a great option. And for those who have never even thought about it, maybe give it a thought. Even just looking into it doesn't harm. You can still stay with the traditional schooling, but know there are options for you that are out there. And if by chance, you switch to doing the homeschooling and you're like, you know what, this is definitely not for us, you can always switch back. It's not a permanent thing at all. So yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome. I'm really happy for you and excited for you and your family. It's awesome. I love it so much. And your girls are great. They're great. I love that they jumped in on tonight. I really do. The kids are amazing. Absolutely love them. Absolutely love them. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. Even after this broadcast, you can leave it and we'll come back and answer it. Or you can actually reach out to Sandy on her handle, which is homeschooling _ on the go. Yep. And and also on her website, which is, the link is in our bio. And you can reach out to her and ask directly as well. And she'd be happy to help you and answer those. So again, thank you for coming on. It was such a pleasure and having you, and some great information. It was a great combo. It was a good combo. Yeah, no, for sure. And you know what? Maybe we'll have you back like when the kids are in high school, and we can do like that side of it too, and talk about it. That'd be great. So that being said, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. And until next time, head high, shoulders back, go get what's yours.